Do you like movies and games also? Listen, so much more they all know. Vice, Lotus and Friends, welcome to Corrective Consciousness.
Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 165, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And Fakafon.
Back again for another episode here. We're doing a bit of a sequel to our Recon episode that was on Tuesday. So definitely have a listen if you only tune in for CoreCon. I don't know why you would, but you know... Why would you just listen to one of our podcasts? I mean, come on. You want to listen to the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, you're not going to have any context for this sequel episode.
Absolutely. So please go back to Tuesday and listen to the first part here. But we just had so much damn content, so many announcements with the Nintendo Direct that we didn't even get all through that yet. And we also plan on going through the SNES offerings that are now on the Switch, because it was a damn good list to start off with, and I'm highly critical of the way that Nintendo's been doing like the NES ones, the NES games, but this was a good way to start. So we'll be going over that, of course. So I wanted to pick up where we left off right after Ni no Kuni was the last thing that we talked about on Recon. So the new Call of Cthulhu game that was on Steam, I think it has a pretty warm reception, I think, from what I understand. It's kind of like a survival horror game. That is getting a port to the Switch. I don't have much experience with this one. Do you know anything about it, Lotus? This is kind of your bag.
Nope.
Okay.
The funny thing is, as much as I enjoy Lovecraft's work, I've only ever played one actual Lovecraft video game ever, which was Dark Corners of the Earth.
Well, I think this is used. They use even like the same like font and everything from that game. I think it's related in some regard. Maybe not like storyline wise or whatever.
Well, I mean, like all the I mean, if it takes place in Innsmouth, if it takes place in Ryla, if it has Cthulhu, it's like it's Lovecraft stuff. Like what do you want? Like some guy you don't know gets into a situation that's crazier than people thought. Like that's every Lovecraft story.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. It's of course an area that we'll probably get to eventually, but it'll be fun. I know that there are a few point and click adventures that I haven't played yet. Yeah, but it has a pretty positive reception, so I kind of want to see the survival horror one. Kind of harkens back to maybe the old Alone in the Dark games, actually, because it has a bit of the similar aesthetic, which were kind of Lovecraftian games in their own right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you mean your character consists of like a polygon with like 5 faces?
If you looked at the screenshots, you'd be like, "Oh, I know what he's talking about." Like he's holding a lamp. I mean, like he's holding an oil lamp, just like he does in Alone in the Dark. Like that's an iconic part of.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like Alone in the Dark is like, if you look at screenshots of that game, it's like, no way, dude.
It's really primitive.
Yeah, your character is like 20 polygons max.
It's insane.
Which block am I?
Like you might as well. It might as well have been like an FX chip, like Super Nintendo game.
Speaking of, we'll get to those later.
Yeah.
But this is a surprise one. So the original Devil May Cry was ported only a little while ago to the Switch. So it looks like they're doing the other ones individually. So Devil May Cry 2, the game that nobody will buy.
Yeah.
What? Why?
Yeah.
It's the black sheep of the series.
It's an odd choice.
Oh, it's not good?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's the worst one.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
By a long shot, too. It's also long-winded. Like, it has, like, kind of a repeat of the story, but, you know, kind of like they did with Resident Evil. You have to play through it a second time with the same character in order to get the final ending.
Okay.
Wait, you have to play it. Wait, you have to play it a second time with the same character?
With a different character, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Didn't
Resident
they do
Evil
that?
2 had a little bit of variation, but a lot of it was like, okay.
Yeah, you got through it quickly because you knew where everything was, but
And also the entire game is like, it could be beaten in like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
yeah,
But
true.
Didn't they do something similar with Devil May Cry, where you play as both Nero and Dante, and like you just do the game?
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
little weak. Yeah, you
Back-
go
That was
through
in
all the
4.
same bosses from
Yeah.
Nero, like with Dante, but
I'm
in
just
reverse
really glad
order.
Dante said no to the dice.
Yeah, that was
Just like, nope.
that is pretty great.
And then he was like, "You're small time." Oh wait, no, that was a different game.
That was the other Capcom game. You're small time settler.
But yeah, odd choice. But they should have just released it as a collection. I don't know why they didn't just
Especially
release
because
it
they
with 1 and
already
2.
didn't like.
Or 1 and
Especially
3.
because they already did that with the PS2. They had the Devil May Cry collection.
Yeah, PS4, PS3, and Steam too. Animal Crossing had some updates. The only one that looked important to me, and I'm a bad judge of these things, looks to be like there's a bunch of co-op stuff that you could do now on the deserted island. Like you can apparently do up to 4 players in the same system and work together on things, and then do 8-player co-op online, up to 8-player co-op online. I bet you that'll be a feature that is used a little bit at the beginning and then not at all in the future.
Man, I
That
really
kind of
hope Old
thing.
Man Stumpy didn't just hear you say that, because we'll be in trouble, man.
I'm mostly gonna wait for him to be excited about like the Pokemon and Animal Crossing stuff. I'm sure he'll talk about how something is very significant that I have no context for. Yeah, but that's a good thing, because it's a hole in my knowledge. It's a hole in everybody else's knowledge. So, and there are tons of fans of this game, so I'm the odd one out. I'm the weirdo, but he would give a little bit of context to this kind of thing, but I just don't have the context for it to get excited. It's not my type of game. Just never has been. But moving on, this was actually the last big surprise announcement of the Nintendo Direct. The original Xenoblade Chronicles is getting a port. And it looks like they're adding content too. It's going to be a definitive edition, and apparently they cut content because of time and space reasons, like the shoulder of the robot god thing that you're on. It was inaccessible in the original game. So apparently they are adding that material back in, and
nice.
They also did a major upgrade on the textures. So it's not just the Wii game, it's like a full remaster. This is great. This is quite possibly the best RPG on the original Wii. I'm particularly excited for it because I was recently thinking of trying to play this again. So I was trying to wrestle with myself on whether I wanted to take out my Wii U and play it, or play like the kind of not the best 3DS remake.
Oh yeah, it's cool because it's portable.
Or port, yeah. Yeah, it is cool that it's portable. That was the main reason why I was considering it, because I've talked about this several times. The reason why I like the Switch is because it's portable, and I could play it in the house, while my fiance watches TV, and so it made more sense. But I was kind of gritting my teeth. I was like, I have to play in an inferior version, that kind of stinks. But this is great. I will certainly play it, and I look forward to playing the sequels. I forgot about this, but the Wii U does have Xenoblade Chronicles X still on that system, locked to it. So
that's one of the games that I would actually like to be ported to the Switch, mainly because, like, it's because of a quirk. Like, with the Wii U game is in SD, and you have to download an HD texture pack, and the Wii U doesn't have really that much memory space, so it's like you're taking up a considerable amount of your space for the fucking HD graphics
Isn't
of
it
a game that
20
you have on
gigs
disc.
for the larger system, something like that? It's only like 20 gigs.
The launch versions have 8 gigs, and the larger system has 32.
32. Okay, so yeah, you could barely fit that on there with anything else.
Like if it's a fresh system, you could barely download Fatal Frame 5. Like a game that's only on the Wii U. What the fuck are they thinking?
Yeah, and it's downloadable only too, which is awful.
Well, in the West, yes, or and I should say in North America.
Yeah, awful stuff. And looks like we have one more thing to talk about. If you'd like to take that away.
I was never into this kind of thing, but I think this is gonna make a lot of people happy because it was kind of an underground title. But Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is getting a remaster for the Switch in January 2020. This is gonna be interesting because if you remember, with the original Crystal Chronicles, it was on the GameCube, and it was one of those games that you could hook up your Game Boy Advance to the GameCube, so you would have a Game Boy Advance screen and the TV screen. So it was kind of like a DS before the DS. You could look at your personal screen and the TV screen. So I'm curious to see how that'll work with the Switch. Honestly, probably a lot better, so you don't have to buy like 4 fucking Game Boy Advances and link cables. It's ridiculous.
I have to say that for as inconvenient as it was when you actually got it going, it was a blast.
The technology was like the way, like, I wasn't a fan of the actual game, but the way it worked was brilliant.
Yeah, the major problem is that it hampered one of the characters to hold the chalice, which held like the aura
zone,
in which everybody had to stay within.
Well, yeah, it's
so
like,
they didn't get
so
too
you
far
can't
away.
have one guy just run off the screen and die off screen or something.
Yeah,
you know what they really should have done was they should have just made the lead character have the aura follow them.
But the thing is, they did the same exact thing in Triforce Heroes, like carry the orb, and anyone outside the orb is like poisoned.
Yeah, but that was a challenge mode. Like that was
That's true. That wasn't the whole game.
Yeah, that's if you wanted an extra challenge. This is my friends nicknamed the person who had to carry the chalice the cup bitch. I mean,
well, actually, wait, were you?
This game.
Was it like Triforce Heroes? Could you put down the chalice and have its aura still work, or did you have to?
No, you could put it down.
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say if you had to hold it, then you're like just -1 character.
Yeah, you only had to hold it if you were moving. You could set it down and then fight within the aura with everybody else.
Okay.
But they should have just like put it on top of your head or something. That'd be the focal point.
Yeah.
But whatever. I think they're fixing that with the new one, so I'll be happy about that. The Zelda game, Four Swords Chronicles, I think is
Adventures.
Adventures is that's the second Four Swords.
The original is just the Game Boy Advance one is just
called
Four Swords. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's the second one. The GameCube one is actually a fantastic experience. I love that game.
And
it's
that also
really
has
good.
Game Boy Advance support.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. You need to have it as your controller.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend that game. That game is really a lot of fun.
That's one of those games, man. Like this is just a more esoteric thing, but if you want to Let's Play if you want to capture footage for the Game Boy Advance part of the screen, man, what a bitch. So you need to hook up your
5 GameCubes.
Yeah, oh my god. Yeah, you need to hook up your GameCube to a capture device and run it into the TV. Then you also will need a separate GameCube, which hooks up to your capture device and plugs into the first GameCube. Like, so you're capturing... No, that's not true. You have to capture the Game Boy Advance. You have to get, like, a consoleized Game Boy Advance.
Okay. Lotus, don't forget to get $300 official component cables for all of them, so it looks its best as well.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Of course.
No,
So
get a consoleized Game Boy Advance, which might actually be cheaper than the fucking...
It is, at this point.
Deal. Run that through a capture device, and then into the GameCube, like... Get an adapter or something. Like what a pain.
have five PCs with capture devices on them.
Oh no, you know what it is. You know what it is. You put the Game Boy Advance game in the Game Boy Player in a GameCube, and hook that up to the other to your capture device. Then put it into the other GameCube.
That's the way to do it. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because you don't need to put it into the GameCube's controller port. You can use the Game Boy Player, and I don't know how you would connect it to the other GameCube actually.
I didn't follow any of that.
With the link cable to GameCube cable.
Holy shit, dude! All right, there. Yeah. Okay, and the GameCube itself still has video out, so you could run the Game Boy Player GameCube into your capture device and link cable it into the first GameCube.
Are you sure you're not creating Frankenstein here? What the hell?
No, that's exactly what you are doing.
Monster.
That's one of those things where if you ever saw a 5-player game of that would be the most expensive capture setup.
My God.
It's like 5 capture devices, which means you need 5 computers, 5 GameCubes, 4 of them with Game Boy players, and discs.
Lotus is really like one of those conspiracy theorists with all of the red yarn, all converging in one
with the webs all over the walls.
It's really just GameCubes.
Yeah. I'm not theorizing anything. I'm just trying to capture my damn video footage.
Just trying to play a game.
With so no friends. He's just trying to play them all like Beethoven.
Yeah, I'm just running from one controller to the other.
Absolutely. Sorry, that tickled me.
It's surrounded by GameCubes and
I
will
make this work.
Oh man!
Or
Mario
your mom
Kart
walks in,
double. Oh, sorry, Mom. Don't look.
No, or perfect. No, the perfect Mario Kart Double Dash where you have a LAN connection of 4 or of I guess 2 GameCubes. No, you could do 8 GameCubes, right? You could do 4 GameCubes, 2 players on each, 4 TVs.
Wait, no. It's up to 16 players for Double Dash.
You could do an 8. You could do an 8-car Double Dash.
Yeah, because it's two players per car.
Okay, so you could
do
4
times 4 4.
You could do 4 GameCubes with 2
yeah.
players on each, so you have 4 TVs with split screen.
It's like an amalgamate of video game right there.
Ugh, what a terror.
Yeah, but you need to get the expensive LAN adapter for each of them.
Oh my god. It's one of those things we joke about, doing a Let's Play of
Steel Battalion.
Versus Virtual On, where we each have 1 TV. That's hard enough, and all you need is 1 link cable between 2 Saturns.
Oh, if I was rich, man.
You gotta get 2 Saturns, 2 TVs, and the esoteric Saturn link cable.
or real Time Crisis 2 with 2 TVs and
2 fat PS2s with FireWire.
Fat PS2s with FireWire.
Ugh.
All right. Or 16 was it 16 links is and you play that one game that it has that is 16 players. Oh jeez.
Oh my god.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
It was one of those portable consoles, I think.
Yeah, the links. He knows what the links is. He just doesn't.
I've heard of the links, but I didn't even know that multiplayer with link cables was a thing in the links.
Oh sure. Mm-hmm.
Holy shit!
It was on Game Boy as well, but on Game Boy there was maybe 3 games that used the cable.
Jesus.
Well, until Pokemon and all that stuff.
Yeah, it was Pokemon and one other game.
Tetris.
Maybe a Mario Kart game or something.
On Game Boy, I don't think so.
Oh.
Anyways, let's move on here.
Yeah.
So that concludes our coverage of the Nintendo Direct. We will be going back to the SNES games, but I wanted to go over some quick other news topics before they got too old. Edmund McMillan, the creator of Binding of Isaac, announced a new game called Legend of Bumbo. Did you see this, Lotus Prince?
Yeah, I don't know what the actual game is, but the thing is, he really likes putting his characters from one game in another game. I've never played Meat Boy. I started with Isaac, but it turns out that a lot of the enemies and bosses in Isaac were actually from Meat Boy. Larry Jr. is a callback to Larry. There's Gish, which was from Binding of Isaac, stuff like that.
It was from Gish, actually.
Oh, there's an
Gish. Actual game. Okay,
excuse me. So Bumbo was one of those. I don't know if there's a Bumbo game already, but Bumbo was a power-up you could get in Isaac Rebirth, where it would follow you along and just devour coins. So, like, you wouldn't be able to pick them up if you wanted him to eat them, and if he ate a ton, he would get bigger and bigger and more powerful when it came to fighting enemies.
So, this is also a prequel to Binding of Isaac, according to him. It's supposed to happen a month before in the Binding of Isaac storyline.
Weird. So the game finishes with him still being tiny and wanting coins from Isaac?
He did not say how it's related because it's a spoiler, obviously, but
okay.
It is related to the story of Binding of Isaac.
Yeah, and he's this big, like, goofy, like, big, dumb-looking guy, so when you pick him up, it says, Bumbo want coin.
Yeah. He, it's a deck-building game. It's like a deck-building roguelike. It's weird. It's like something... It has, like, a tabletop component to it,
sure.
but it's a video game. And apparently he worked really, really hard on it, so hopefully it's fun. It sounds like it's something new and different, which is very much welcome. You wouldn't want him to do the same thing over and over again. I mean, Binding of Isaac kind of did everything you could do with that kind of thing, and kind of perfected
Super Meat Boy is a completely different game. The End is Nigh is a completely different game. The Isaac board game, completely different style. So, like, he's definitely going and doing different things.
The Binding of Isaac board game, though, is very satisfying. We need to play that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would like to play that, and there's an expansion out for it, too. Like a retail expansion.
Already?
And it's really fun.
It's out.
It's really, really fun.
Yeah, I need to look into that.
Be warned, though, the game is made to be broken. You can do some really nasty stuff with the right cards.
Well, that's like regular Isaac. Like, you can get stupid power-up combinations.
Yeah, Old Man Stompy was playing it with me a little while ago, and he's just like, this game is stupid, and I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a regular Isaac game. Like, you can have the craziest runs ever.
That's what I did when I played with my friends. I just had a card that just made me win, and nobody could do anything to stop me.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of like that now. Like... Some people have pointed out that part of the reason why Symphony of the Night is so great is because there's so many things that like break the game in it, but that's kind of what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Blood Stained very much follows that.
It does, cool.
Like the Igavanias in between were actually pared down quite a bit, but in that game you could do some stupid shit and like some really like crazy stuff that does a lot of damaging if you combine them, but it was all in the fun and experimentation, like it was supposed to be a lot of fun. So
well, even in some of the Final Fantasy games, when you start doing like weird shit, you start being really strong. It's fun.
Yep.
Final Fantasy VIII in particular.
Dude,
ridiculous shit you could break the game with. But a lot of people cite that as the fun part. Like, you can do some really broken stuff with, like, the calculators in Final Fantasy Tactics. Like, that's one of the things that Final Fantasy Tactics fans love the most about it. It's not balanced, but, like, in order to break the game, you have to do some weird, obscure stuff in some weird, obscure ways. But, like, it encourages experimentation.
Yeah.
So, as long that can be a fun part of the game as long as it's something that's rewarding as a result. So moving on from there, I want to make sure that we have enough time to talk about everything. There was a new Resident Evil announced called Project Resistance, which looks like to be
it's a multiplayer experience.
Yeah, like they've never done that before. They've never had a good one other than, the co-op of 5 and 6 have been like the only successful versions.
Well, Outbreak.
Is that successful?
Well, I mean, it was like a spin-off title at the time. I don't know how many people got into it and had LAN connections on their freaking PS2s.
Well, you could do PlayStation Online with it at the time.
But like, how many people knew that was a thing?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Very few.
So people like the games all right now. The Operation Raccoon City, I think, was multiplayer, but nobody on Earth liked that. Yeah. And there was Umbrella Core. I forgot if that was multiplayer, but that was universally
garbage.
Hated.
Yeah,
man, I don't even know what that game is.
Oh, that's because like that was the game that almost became a meme. Like, if you looked up, I think it was Steam, like the number of online players on fucking launch day, I think it was like in the hundreds. It was like cripplingly low.
It was garbage.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah. And it deserved it. It was
and
not a
nobody
good game.
knew it was a thing. It like stealth launched, and it was digital only in the States.
It was awful. Well, this one actually looks like it has some promise, though. This is a co-op game. It looks like to be in the vein of, Resident Evil 5 and 6, in terms of their co-op mode. So I am all for it. I just hope it's good.
Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention, but this is also pretty esoteric. There is, I forgot if co-op was included, but there was certainly a versus. But it was like a multiplayer mode for Resident Evil 1 DS.
Huh.
Yeah, you could do a little online multiplayer action.
Huh.
I don't think you fought each other. It was like whoever made it to the end first, that kind of thing.
Oh, like a race?
Oh, there was one other Resident Evil multiplayer. I can't believe you all didn't think of this. Resident Evil 2 has like a way watered down version, like the Tiger Gamecom.
Yeah.
Well, there was an even more watered down version, also made by Tiger. Have you heard of the Tiger 99X?
Never.
No.
All right. do you remember the original Digimon handheld?
Oh, yeah.
Digimon was almost like Tamagotchi. It was a little handheld thing you had, but you could link cable it with a friend, and your little Digimon could fight. And it was like, cool.
Actually, you kind of clacked them together, and they had little
that's what it was.
Contacts.
So well, the Tiger 99X was like a little Tamagotchi thing, but it had a fucking link cable. It's just it wasn't a full on system. It was like one game per, like the Tiger games.
Okay.
So
Tiger.
Yeah, so you could buy a Tiger 99X of this game, a Tiger 99X of that game. So you could actually link cable Resident Evil 2, which was even more watered down than the Gamecom version, and it was pretty much just race to the finish. So whoever gets there first is the winner, or whoever dies, of course, loses.
Well, now I want to
that's a thing that exists.
Well, getting back to Project Resistance, this actually looks promising. It kind of looks like their take on Left 4 Dead.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be 4-player co-op, and it's going to have scenarios, where you go through, an area and fight a horde or something like that, and then eventually you get to a boss or something.
Oh, okay.
And they show like a Mr. X-like boss that they're going to be going up against. So there's only a cinematic trailer as of right now, so we don't know a whole lot about it, but it looks like it's going to be a Left 4 Dead-ish experience, which I'm all for, because Left 4 Dead was a fun game, and they haven't really followed up on that formula. I mean, there have been games like Dead by Daylight and the Friday the 13th game that kind of have elements of that kind of stuff, but I kind of like that, like, try to get through a level all together and keep moving, kind of.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like Left 4 Dead didn't really have a cohesive story, although I think it was implied that the whole game was like a movie, like you're making a movie. But yeah, like it was just the four of you, exits over there, figure it out. It was kind of clever.
Yeah, Vermintide is kind of like that as well.
Oh, that's right. I've seen a little bit of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on. Let's see here. There was a video that released shortly after the Nintendo Direct. It wasn't a part of it, but it kind of like came on the coattails of it. It was just called A New Experience for the Nintendo Switch. It was really a teaser trailer. It showed a couple of new accessories to go along with the Joy-Cons. That would be in a ring, so you could kind of do
this.
like a wheel kind of motion with it, or you could do exercises with it. And there's also another strap that could be strapped to a leg or an arm or something. It looked like it was going to use several... It was going to be a thing that you could use with a couple different games. They did not show any gameplay footage. They just kind of teased people using the stuff. So there were shots of people doing, like, having fun with it, like obviously playing a fun party game. And there were shots of people just doing yoga-ish stuff, so maybe like a Wii Fit successor.
Yeah.
And there would look like a driving thing going on, maybe a mini game or something going on. So, I have an open mind towards this, and Nintendo kind of lost that audience, that Wii Fit audience it once had. So it'll probably be a good move for them to try to cater to that audience again, because there really hasn't been much movement in that space. The the exercise space, and I think that it is still a viable market. It's just that nobody's done it well since then.
Yeah, the closest thing I can think of is just the Just Dance
Kinect.
games.
Yeah, the Kinect. Kinect had stuff like Zumba and stuff like that on it, but nothing really captured the fun of Wii Fit. And the balance board was a well-made product. So I think this is their way of trying to capture that audience again, which I'm all for. I mean, it is kind of funny that like it's using the Joy-Cons, which the new system doesn't even have. But I assume that the new system you can hook up to Joy-Cons if you wish. I can't imagine there's any reason why you can't use them in their wireless mode. But that's just my thought. Moving on. Just plenty to go on here. This is a big announcement for me, and maybe Lotus knows about this one. I doubt if you know about this one, Fakafon. This is kind of esoteric. Well, a long time ago, a friend of the show, Tom Lipschultz, had brought this game to my attention, and it has since been one of the games I've been pining for an English translation for a very long time, and there hadn't been any fan translations completed or anything like that.
Oh,
but it's
you mean Gears of War 5, right?
Yeah, I desperately want an English translation of this game made in America. Actually, Gears 5 looks quite good. I kind of want to play it, but it's the first of its type in that series. It has like an open world component, which is pretty neat. But this is Moon, the anti-RPG. Have you ever read an article on this one or taken a look at this game?
No, I never heard of it.
Not at all.
Okay, so this is a game made by the people who made Tulip before they made Tulip.
Oh shit!
They made that. They made a lot of quirky other games. There was Gifpia for the GameCube, and a few other charming titles. There's like Hotel Onion for the phone. There's like this. What is it? Something dandy, I forget, for the they make a current game for the Switch. I forget what it's called, but this game is supposed to be kind of like a parody slash a rejection of RPGs at the time when it came out, when it was released for the PS1. It's an experimental game. It's a game that looks like it will behave like an RPG and doesn't. It kind of subverts all the tropes. And apparently it's very charming and a lot of fun. And this is the first, we're getting a port and a localization of it on the Switch.
M-O-O-N, that spells moon.
It does. For all of you people that read The Stand back in the 70s.
Fuck that, I read it in like the 2000s.
Yeah, I read it back in the 2000s as well. But moving on from that, actually some Gears 5 news. Dave Bautista.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Is a playable character, like just him.
So now he's
Gears
doing
5.
it all. He's got wrestling, he's got movies, now he's got a video game.
I only kind of mention it because I love Dave Bautista. I think
he's
great.
a charming guy. He was in like Guardians of the Galaxy is probably his most famous role. He's Drax the Destroyer. He was all. I mean, nobody's gonna fucking know what I'm talking about. But he was like the mercenary leader's right hand man in Riddick. I like Riddick.
A lot of people like Riddick. He's also one of the main henchmen in Quantum of Solace, and he was in the new Blade Runner movie as well.
No, it wasn't Quantum of Solace. It was Spectre, wasn't it?
It was Quantum of Solace.
Really?
Yeah.
The guy who never talked, who kept hunting down Bond?
Yeah, he was on the train in Quantum of Solace.
No, that would be Spectre. I promise you that is not Quantum of Solace. That was the one with Blofeld.
What do you think? Tell us in the chat.
Yeah.
Tell us in the
I
comment
saw Quantum of
section.
Solace once in theaters and was bored as shit.
Okay.
It was the most recent movie, I'm pretty sure.
I'm not entering this discussion because I don't know.
I don't know. I thought I was right, but you know what that turns into. Old Man Stompy comes on here and just goes, actually, 4 Heroes of Light was
It's
a terrible
Spectre.
game. Okay.
It's Spectre. It's the most recent Bond movie. Quantum of Solace was like Like, can you even tell me the plot of Quantum of Solace?
Yeah.
Strawberry Fields gets covered in oil. I know that.
Have you seen Goldfinger? Remember Goldfinger?
You see her butt.
Wow, cool. One of the only things I remember about Quantum of Solace wasn't even, like, about the movie, except for the... Like, I remember mainly two things. One was, you know how before the movie, sometimes, like, some theaters will have little trivia questions to keep you occupied?
Oh, yeah.
And one of them was, like, what is the only Bond movie to ever have the opening, like, the big movie theme song be sung as a duet and not by just one person? And I was like, I haven't seen all the movies. I don't know. Which movies have I seen so I know I can cross those out? Which ones have I not seen so I can know to choose among them? And it's like, the answer was Quantum of Solace. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? The movie I'm paying to see that I haven't seen yet? Like, all right. And the other thing about Quantum of Solace was that the opening action scene was so goddamn camera jerky.
Oh, it was terrible.
That, like, I actually, like, was starting to get a little motion sick and had to look away. And I do not get motion sick from movies or video games. Like, that doesn't happen.
It was worse than the Bourne movies, which kind of pioneered that.
Yeah, like, some people can't watch first-person games because they get, like, nauseous, and I get it.
Cloverfield was a big one like that, too.
Yeah, like, I don't mind, but Quantum of Solace, that opening action scene, even I was bothered. So if people who are bothered normally are probably like, they can't watch the whole movie. What?
I was just annoyed. I couldn't see what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't see shit, and when I tried, I actually had to look away from the screen for, like, the only time I've ever had to do that watching a movie.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
Anyway,
from the other things that I don't apparently understand or can pinpoint.
Want to talk more about Riddick?
It's ridiculous. But Digital Eclipse announced a new collection of games, which was a big surprise.
Yeah.
So Genesis, Aladdin, and Lion King collection.
Wait a minute.
That is pretty cool. Like, I know a lot of people prefer Super Nintendo Aladdin, but, like,
yeah,
I grew up with Genesis Aladdin, and I like the ability to swing a sword around. And that's exactly what Shinji Mikami himself said that he liked about the Genesis version. He's like, he had a sword.
Okay. I was gonna ask, like, I didn't remember which one was which, but with the sword, yeah, okay, I remember.
Yeah, the Capcom Super Nintendo Aladdin was when you jump on enemies' heads, like Mario style, to kill them. And you might have still had your apples. In the Genesis version, you had your apples, but you were probably using your sword a lot. I remember some guards with swords could actually, like, cut your apples out of the air, like the juggler. If you threw your apples out, the apple just gets sliced in half. I thought that was crazy at the time.
I was a big fan of Aladdin. This was the number 3 best-selling game on the Genesis.
It was a really good game.
Nice.
It was a great game.
Right behind Sonic 1 and 2.
And the animation was smooth as hell. It was actually done by, like, Disney animators.
Which were pack-ins, I might add. So Aladdin got that distinction all on its own on just selling well.
That's a good point. Yeah. Sonic 1 and 2 came with the system. Aladdin did not.
So yeah, very big game for the system. It's great that Disney is allowing it to be republished. It's been on GOG for quite some time, and Steam, I imagine, at this point. But I'm a little surprised they didn't include Jungle Book as well, because it's made by the same people.
That wasn't as big as Aladdin, but it was, or the Lion King actually, but it was a big deal. And wasn't there also? I mean, I know people don't really care about this one, but wasn't there also like a Pocahontas game?
Which
was super smooth, by the way. Like, I don't know about the game itself, but it just looks like the animations are gorgeous.
The Disney games on the Genesis were all a lot of them were made by different people. So
okay.
So the ones that are nearest to my heart are the Castle of Illusion games.
Sure.
So that's Castle of Illusion, World of Illusion, which is its direct sequel, and kind of its spin-off is Quackshot, the one starring Donald Duck. Those three.
My memory's a little hazy. Was Castle and World, was one Genesis and one Super Nintendo, or were they both?
No, they were both. All three of those were on Genesis.
Okay.
Now they were all made by Sega directly. They were programmed by Sega and everything. And then there was like Fantasia, which was made by a different team.
And was terrible.
It was awful. And then there was Goofy's Hysterical History Tour, which was then again made by a completely different company. And then I think the Circus Mystery was made by another company. So there, and then you have these Virgin games.
Aladdin
that
was
were
Virgin.
Yeah, these were made by Virgin before they became Shiny.
Or again, the Genesis is Virgin. The Super Nintendo was Capcom.
Correct. So, but I'm just telling you the Genesis ones. The Genesis Disney games alone have like a varied history.
Yeah.
But I like the Sega ones the best, but I do like these Virgin games quite a bit. They have a place in my heart. The Lion King game is really difficult.
Yeah, it's a pretty good game, but there are like 2 or 3
Maze
gatekeeper points.
Yeah,
the I just want to be king level is where the little kids just give up. And if you manage to make it through that, the elephant graveyard, the maze, it's like a maze, and you're getting your ass kicked. It's brutal.
It's a tough game.
Yeah, not only that, but you really want to beat that because it's the last stage before you turn into adult Simba.
Yeah.
And you feel a lot more powerful as adult Simba, obviously, because you could attack rather than just jump on things.
And the fight with Scar is apparently also really hard. You have to hit him 1 trillion times and do the move where you throw him over the cliff.
Yeah, it has a fighting move combo that you need to do on him in order to kill him. And if you rented the game, which I did, I could never beat him because I didn't know what the combination was.
You just keep pressing the swipe your claw at him button, and you're like, he's got to die sometime, and he just doesn't go down.
Yeah, it's terrible. Good times. Go and play that. But yeah, that's actually getting a physical release too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Now, moving on from that, John Romero also, I gave kind of a little teaser to this, but I've been playing Sigil lately. And I've been a little disappointed with it because it's so goddamn difficult. I don't like it. It's very, very hard. And it's not just it's annoying hard.
This has been brought up before, but stuff like monster closets, a wall opens up and there's a monster. Are you fucking come on?
2 Barons of Hell. When you, it's oh goddamn.
Yeah.
But the main problem that I have with it is just there's a lot of stuff that you have to traverse, and you have to go into lava pits on purpose.
Yeah, they got slime and lava in every level.
Yeah, and you have to get hurt in order to progress, that kind of thing.
That was a gimmick in some levels of Doom, but with Sigil it appears to be the norm.
Yeah, it's fun, but I was just getting my ass kicked so much that it became just such a slog to get past certain levels.
Yeah.
The first level alone is pretty fun. I like that level quite a bit, but the second level it's very, very difficult. And it's just very difficult. So he announced that he's coming up with a free update. I mean, it's a free WAD to begin with, a mega WAD to begin with, but it's a major overhaul of some of the levels. So he's calling it his 1.2 update.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently he took some of the criticisms to heart. So he's redesigning some of the stages maybe to make them a little bit more user friendly and for the tailored experience. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool of him. I mean, he's doing it for free anyway. So I mean, there is packaged versions of it, but that's for super fans, you know. So
the packaged version was limited run games.
Yeah. But what I mean is he's not making a whole lot of profit off of this. Is my point. Sure. He's selling the Buckethead version of the game for $6.66. But you know what I mean? That's not a lot of money. He's probably almost all of it's going to Buckethead. I mean, come on. And it's free otherwise. So it's pretty cool that he's working on this and kind of listening to what fans are saying. Moving on from that, City Connection, the company that has kind of inherited the Jalico games and the Sikio games that I talk about quite a bit, they are coming out with a Ninja Jaja Maru-kun collection. I don't know much about these games, but Japan has a long history of these games. They were a Jalico mascot. We have no recognition of Jalico whatsoever. Very much.
Wake me when this company picks up Juggernaut for PS1, okay?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Fakafon's favorite game.
Oh yeah.
The game that was so easy to understand when you finished it.
But Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say other than it's a collection of classic titles. I'm not a big fan of these, nor do they mean a lot to me, so it's probably not for me. But it's cool that it exists. Moving on, Ancient, which is Yuzo Koshiro's company,
baby.
a big favorite of ours, announced a new version of the Protect Me Knight or Gotta Protector series, which I'm very excited for. So, the history of these is actually a lot of fun and pretty interesting. The first game in the series was called Protect Me Knight. It was one of the most popular Xbox Live indie games before that service went off. It was one of the very few games that originated from Japan as well. And it is a pretty cool tower, 4-player tower defense game that has, a 16-bit aesthetic. Back when that was uncommon, it's a lot more common now, very common now, in fact. But it was neat because it was like a tower defense game that had a co-op element and an action element as well. So you all crowded around a castle to protect a princess that was being sieged by an army down below, and you could set up traps and stuff, but you could also fight as like an archer or kind of like a gauntlet style thing going on. So it had a lot of it wasn't just a tower defense game. It was kind of like a combination of action and tower defense.
Regarding that though, if so you said you're defending your castle's princess from some up. Mm-hmm. So does that mean that the title is a pun? Like, gotta protect her? Is that a thing?
Yes.
Nice.
So that eventually got a sequel on the 3DS, and which was called Gotta Protectors, and the Switch version is a new version of that. So I think it's the 4th in the series, I think. So it's a great series. It's a lot of fun. Great music as well. I'm sure you could imagine coming from Yuzo Koshiro. And it's a fun little party game, and it's something that everybody can enjoy. I am not a tower defense fan. I will absolutely admit that, but in this context, it's a lot of fun because you work together and it has a high action component.
Tower defenses games are it is true. It's one of those types of games that if you don't nail it, it's usually just gonna be bad.
Yeah,
I was actually gonna mention that. Yeah, you either have constant maintenance, or if your primary form of defense goes down, then you're gonna have to spend the next wave building it back up instead of building up your next wave of defense. So it's just gonna be a steady decline.
Yeah, this one's fun in that you can kind of Overcooked. You can kind of assign certain jobs to people. You're the one who sets up the traps. We'll work on attacking the bad guys directly. That kind of thing. And it's there's a frantic element to it to try and help each other out. It's a lot of fun. I definitely recommend this. So it's going to be an unsung title, just like the rest of them. It's not a well-known series in the United States, but it's a lot of fun, so I definitely recommend it. Just a couple little things here. Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 are getting a Switch collection in Japan and Asia. The Asia version does have English. Okay. So if you... there is no announcement for Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 in the US.
God damn it.
However, it probably will come.
Please.
Number one.
If it does, I bet you it'll be digital only.
Well, no, this is a digital only collection.
Oh, it's all digital. Okay.
Yeah, and the Asia version is very easy to obtain. Just set up an Asia account.
Oh yeah.
On your Switch.
Yeah, the Switch is very foreign
easy.
Account friendly.
Thank goodness for
very
that.
Easy. Very, very easy. The detraction though is that these are obviously. Square Enix does it again with releasing the mobile ports.
Come on!
They're obsessed.
After the complaints about every single other game they've released that way, why are they not learning?
They could have easily just put the collection, the 1, 2, and 3 from the SNES as a collection on there, but they didn't. And it looks like garbage.
For fuck's sake, not again.
So I do not recommend it. It looks terrible. It has that real like cheap art.
I know what you mean.
Style.
Like the
yeah,
kind of looks like it's been drawn
terrible.
hastily and like there we go, that works.
It's just it's real cheap and blocky and real soft looking. It's the best way I could describe it. It doesn't look good. I don't know why they just don't give us our chunky pixels like we want. It's very easy to do that. And then moving on, just a couple little things. River City Girls was released.
Yes!
I'm excited for that.
Dude,
I'm waiting for my copy.
that game looks so good. I want to play it. I want to play this
beautiful.
so bad.
It probably has the nicest art in a beat 'em up since Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah.
And the reviews are great.
Well, not only that,
So I'm
it's what
forward to that.
I've always liked the River City Ransom game because like it has a good mix of like exploration, brawling, managing like your stats. You can upgrade your stuff. You know, even in the old NES game, you could like buy food, become stronger. It's the same here. It's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
You can get some new moves.
I'm a huge fan of these.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, go ahead.
I love this, and I've seen a little bit of it, but there is I don't want to spoil it, but you can see characters from other games inside of that, other things like Double Dragon and stuff. So it's really good.
Oh, well, that was always in River City Ransom, the original on NES. Even had a cameo by the Double Dragon.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was in there. So I'm glad that they're carrying that over. That's cool. But really excited for this. I'm waiting for. I was debating this, but I ended up getting a limited run version because that was on pre-order.
Well, you won't regret it.
Time,
this game looks amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm a big fan of the series in general, and I'm really glad that Way Forward got to do another Technos game here. Because they made Double Dragon Neon, if you remember right.
Okay.
That game is freaking amazing.
It's way better than it has any right.
Yeah.
To me. It may be the best Double Dragon game. It probably is.
Yeah.
And then the House in Fata Morgana shipped. I have my copy. Did you get yours, Lotus? Did you get your 2 copies?
Now I'm still waiting.
Okay. I got mine a couple days ago. It is a beautiful limited edition. I'm going to show my
Well, this looks really good.
Here.
Yeah, the art's gorgeous.
Sorry you can't see that, but
beautiful.
It looks good. Trust us on this.
Yeah, this is easily
limited run.
It's easily Googled anyway.
It's a limited run game. Friends of the show, Word of the Wind, and her co-hosts on Hardcore Gaming One's 1990X podcast, which I've been on a couple times. They rank this. They rank every game that comes on the show against each other. Just kind of, it's kind of a joke because they're like, this is ridiculous that we're pitting Final Fantasy VII versus Mario. Like, what even is that?
Yeah, like what are you even comparing anymore?
Yeah, exactly. But that's part of the joke. But also they do take it seriously, which is
which kind of makes the joke better, but it also is like more fun to listen to that way because you get to like sort of quantify like what they care about in this game versus in that game.
So this got into their top 100, and that's saying a lot at this point. I think they have over 400 games ranked. So the top 100 are like cream of the crop. I think it got in the 70s for them, which is very, very, very well ranked. I think only one other visual novel got higher, and it was Steins Gate. So
was 428 in there because that game seriously is an experience.
No, the only other one that they've done 2 others other than that. They've done Police Knots and Snatcher, and they didn't rate them particularly well. Mostly, I think their argument at the time was that there wasn't much game to it, but they kind of now they're being kinder to visual novels. So
they need to look into 428 if they haven't already, because that game is unbelievable.
It's the best. It is the best.
It is the game that keeps on giving.
My point is, this isn't just a throwaway, like, doujin visual novel.
I've heard that Fata Morgana, like,
this is a
does
particularly
not
good
fall
one.
into, like, cheesy tropes and stuff like that. It's like, it takes itself seriously.
It's a particularly very good visual novel, like cream of the crop. So if you have any interest in playing this style of game, this is one to get. And apparently the PS4 version is a big upgrade in visuals and other technical aspects and extra story content from the PC version. PC version was original. It was actually a doujin game. It was offered at Comic-Cat.
Okay.
So House and Fata Morgana on PS4 actually got upgraded quite a bit. The guys from remember like the guys from Warning a Hughes podcast had suggested Snatcher, Silver Case, and Steins Gate as like the best visual novels ever made.
Yeah.
The host of that podcast actually translated this.
Damn.
Yeah, his name's Nick Rocks or Nick DeBar. So yeah, he was a big guy for Game Fan back in the day as well. So pretty cool. Only two other little things before we get on to SNES games that we're going to move through pretty quickly. My Sonic CD and Metal Gear Solid vinyls shipped, and I got those, so I just wanted to quickly...
So now you can jam to Sonic Boom, which I unironically enjoy.
Actually, you can't. The Sonic CD soundtrack is the European and Japanese soundtrack only.
I'm actually really surprised it wasn't like a
dual
2-disc pack. Yeah,
I'm surprised too. That'll probably be on the horizon, I'm gonna guess. But there's so much music that I think even with the dual LP, they could only fit that version.
Dude, have you heard Stardust Speedway? Like, because both versions are really damn good.
All the music in both these games is great. Before we wrap things up, I do want to go over SNES games on Switch. I'm going to go over the list real quick. And some of these I will have nothing to say about because they speak for themselves. But I'm going to go through every title real quick and just and this is on launch day. Like, all of these came out at once. Super Mario World, which... it's in contention for the best game in the system, one of the best games of all time.
Yeah.
Super Mario Kart,
again,
fantastic. Yeah. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past,
again,
come on.
That's
Super
one that
Metroid
actually,
may very well be the best game of all time by a lot of people's standards.
Link to the Past, like of those 4 games, I gave like a token effort to Mario Worlds, but like I love Link to the Past. Like, that might be my favorite Zelda game.
Super Metroid, I mean, I'm the Metroidvania guy on this podcast. There is no, I have no words to describe how much I love Super Metroid.
In that case, I'm
how much it means
I'm gonna be the Super Mario World advocate because that game is amazing beyond belief.
I mean, we're comparing Hattori Hanzo swords here. Come on, like
none of the...
you know what I mean? This is just personal preference.
Yeah,
these are 3 of the best games ever made. And you can't really get much better than them. And they were hugely influential. They were all made by the same people.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And they all came out around the same time. It's crazy.
They really nailed it.
And they're all sequels that improve and set the pace for their series from that point on forward.
Well, except for Super Mario Kart. That was the first.
I don't mean Super Mario Kart. I mean these 3.
Mario World, Zelda, Metroid. Yeah.
Zelda and Metroid. Mario World Kart is fun to play at this point, but it's been bettered by all of its sequels.
Yeah.
You can't say the same about the other ones. You may say that it's so distilled in those 3 games that they can't be much improved upon. They're just that good. But there's an argument there. But you'd be hard pressed to find the person that says that Super Mario Kart's the best Mario Kart. Nobody's gonna say that. Nobody's gonna say that. Okay. So the next one is very, very, very surprising. Stunt Race FX. This is the first time it's appeared on anything other than the Super Nintendo. Really cool. It didn't even appear on the SNES Mini, I don't think. Really neat. Also, what that tells you right off the bat is the hardest thing to emulate on the entire system is available immediately, along with all the other Super Nintendo games. Because it's an FX chip game. Also, Kirby's Dream Land 3. That is a special chip game as well. Very difficult to emulate, and it's on there. It's free for anybody who has Switch Online, which is $20 a year. What a deal!
That's pretty good.
Another banger, maybe up there in the echelons of the rest of those first 3 big games that I was talking about. Yoshi's Island.
Yeah, just don't get hit.
Yeah. But I don't care for that game almost at all, but the music is unbelievable.
Oh, it's great.
It's one of the most charming games
ever made. And the visuals are also really, really good.
They are.
It's very good. I've never beaten it because, kind of like you, Lotus, I never really got into it, but I'm giving it a genuine shot, and I think it might stick this time, especially since I can play it portably.
Have you seen and heard the final boss's appearance and music? Because it's like, whoa.
That was one of my memories that I have of most being at Pyro's house when we were little kids, because he fought Baby Bowser and Giant Baby Bowser when I was over.
Which is really legitimately intimidating. In a game like that,
really cool stuff. This hasn't been released in its original form except on the SNES Classic. So this is the first time it's been on a Nintendo console since the Super Nintendo.
Well, actually, console. I was gonna say, didn't it have like a mediocre Game Boy Advance port?
It had a Game Boy Advance port that has a lower resolution. It's not the same. It's not the same. And that version was on the Wii U. But this has some funky graphical effects that you can't find elsewhere.
Touch those, you get dizzy.
Yeah, exactly. And that works perfectly on the Switch, by the way. It emulates perfectly. And going along with that, Star Fox. So all of the Nintendo published Super FX titles, actually, I think is Yoshi's Island was the final one. So the original Star Fox, that's great. Maybe they'll even put Star Fox 2 on there eventually, which would be pretty awesome.
That's true, actually. Star Fox 2 is like locked to the SNES Classic, which is just so
the only
bizarre thing to say.
Yeah.
It's like, can I play Super Turrican 2 or whatever? Sorry, it's locked to the analog Super NT. What?
You mean the Super Turrican director's cut?
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Can I play Ultra Core? Sorry, it's locked to the Mega SG. Actually, it's not. It's not anymore. But that's what?
Yeah. The original F-Zero, great game. I love that, but the sequels on the N64 and GameCube are even better. The original
the GameCube version is great, but it is fucking impossible. Hard. That game is excruciatingly hard.
The original Pilot Wings, actually, I like the sequels better, but the first ones are still very good. Pilot Wings 64 and Pilot Wings Resort are a lot of fun. Kirby's Dream Course is a little slow-paced for me, but I know people that love that game.
Yeah, if you like it, you really like it.
It's kind of like Kirby's Golf.
Yeah, it's very cleverly done. Like you said, it's not my thing, but that game does get a lot of respect points for doing what it does.
I liked it a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's one of those things. So the next one is the first third-party title, Brawl Brothers, which was a popular beat-em-up. It was Rushing Beat Ron, which is the second Rushing Beat game. It is the sequel to Rival Turf, and a precursor to Peacekeepers. It is a mediocre beat-em-up. It's okay. It's a Jalico classic. There's Jalico.
Oh, finally. When are they going to release Juggernaut for Nintendo?
please keep saying that, Joe.
Stop saying Juggernaut.
The original Breath of Fire, that was a surprise. The original Breath of Fire has only ever been ported to the GBA. So this is this is the first time you'll be able to see it in its original form, unadulterated, with its original music and all that stuff. The GBA title had a bunch of things that pared it down to make it fit on there. So this is the original Super Nintendo version. And this one's a great game that I did not expect right away to get. Demon's Crest.
Has that game ever been ported?
That's the one with...
No, it's been on Virtual Console, but it is worth your time. It is a fantastic game.
It's a game with Firebrand, right?
Yes, this is the sequel
and you get
to
various
Gargoyle's
elemental
Quest
powers.
2. Sweet.
Yeah, this is the sequel to Gargoyle's Quest 2. It has kind of a Metroidvania structure. Almost.
Yeah, you can pick the level you enter.
Yeah, and you get abilities, and you can go back to things to get.
It's not like Super Metroid where you like physically make your way back to where you were. Like it's like I said, you can like leave a level, enter a different level with your newly acquired powers.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of Metroidvania.
Yeah, it's more similar to Mega Man ZX that we talked about a couple weeks ago. It has a similar structure. It has like a hub.
Yeah.
But great game, and it's very difficult. Going along with that, Super Ghouls and Ghosts. So that's the series that he originates in.
Yep.
Fantastic fucking game. Hard as butt.
Yeah. The speedruns of these are really great.
Yeah, they
a lot
really,
of fun to watch.
Really are.
It's a good spectator sport watching people play Ghouls and Ghosts.
Oh, yeah.
If you watch someone play it well, it's like,
it's so
man,
fun
how are
to
you doing
watch,
this?
yeah. Data East Classic Joe and Mac 2. I think this is another Jalico. Super Earth Defense Force, not related to Earth Defense Force.
Like EDF and Earth Defense Force have been used elsewhere before, just by coincidence. Like
it's a playoff of the Global Defense Force or National Defense Force.
Yeah, even Disgaea had Disgaea 1 had the EDF.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, not that EDF, just like an EDF.
This is a pretty okay 2D shmup for the system that wasn't a Konami game or an IREM game. Puyo Puyo 2, which is shows evidence of the first import, Super Puyo Puyo 2. So it's the sequel to Kirby's Avalanche, actually. And Super Tennis and Super Soccer, which I was never a big fan of. I never liked them. They were really good they were really good shows of the graphics at the time because they used a lot of Mode 7. But
I remember
they don't play
that.
well if you ask me.
I do remember that. I don't know why I remember those two games for some reason. I bet my friend had them.
They were really popular. A lot of people owned them, and they were pretty iconic. Like they looked the part when you played it. You were like, "Oh, this is better than Genesis," even though it wasn't. It wasn't necessarily better, but it looked cool. Let's just put it that way. And it had that early Super Nintendo like music style, like similar to Pilot Wings and stuff like that. Kind of had like a jazzy feel to it.
Okay, yeah.
So we went over a lot of titles there, but you'll notice that there aren't any Konami games here. Notably missing is Contra 3 and the Castlevania games.
But then again, though, they've had their collections.
I was just gonna say they're already on the Switch.
Yeah.
So there aren't too many other Super Nintendo games that I would want on this system that aren't already there, other than the Final Fantasy titles and Chrono Trigger. I'm just going to go out and say it has all the best games on it already. Maybe a couple others like Final Fight 2, Final Fight 3 I would like there. Mega Man X, all the Mega Man X games are already on there. Mega Man 7's already on there. All of the big Capcom games are already on there. These were just kind of like the last two big ones other than Final Fight 2 and 3, I would say. So there's some great stuff here. Really good games right off the bat. We had to wait quite a while for NES to get the NES app to get like a decent selection of games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's gotten there. There are very few games that I wish were on the system that aren't. And it's the same here with the SNES. Almost all of them are on there. I can't think of too many big games that they're missing. Maybe Mario RPG. That's one I wish I was on there.
Yeah.
Kirby
and
Superstar.
that did make it to the SNES Classic, so it's not like there are rights issues or whatever. Like it could go to the Switch. Why not?
I think they're waiting for a time in which they can release Square Enix games all at once or something. That.
Could be.
Final Fantasy 2 and 3.
Maybe they'll release a shitty mobile port of Mario RPG.
Oh, please, God, no.
Fuck. But unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to get the fan stuff this week, so we'll have to push it to next week. But we wanted to make sure that we got everything in. See how much this was. We had 2 episodes, and
this was a bunch.
We
do very much appreciate the comments that had been submitted, and we will read those next time.
Oh yeah, 100%. We don't skip over comments.
Hey, one of them is me.
And fan reactions.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's almost like you have some kind of notes about the show in front of you.
Yeah, how do you know what the comments are?
Peek behind the curtain.
But we'll let that wrap things up. But even with all the time that we had, we still could have even talked more about the Super Nintendo stuff. There's some really great shit on there, and it's free if you're already a Switch Online member. I mean, Old Man Stompy bought the family plan and just gave me a code, so I'm playing all these games for free, very thankfully. So that was really good of him. So that is the show for this week. I want to thank our friends who contributed questions. Do not feel like we skipped over you. We're going to dedicate you for your time next week. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. We need more, guys. We're either very low or done on them.
For actual questions, yeah, we are fresh out.
Fresh out, okay. Even if you want to ask just something unrelated, in fact, the unrelated questions are the best. Please put a couple down. Even if it's something stupid or would you rather do this or rather do that kind of thing. I love that kind of stuff.
Would you rather play Kingsfield 1 or Kingsfield 2?
Ugh. Kingsfield 2.
That is correct.
There is notable improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've played the first 3 games where I'm playing the third, and you can clearly tell that each is
just getting
several steps better than the previous one.
It's getting better and better, yeah.
Who you calling Noob today? Well, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesdays for our sister podcast, Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Switch, and Battle.net.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, I'm publicly streaming Kingsfield 2 or Japanese Kingsfield 3, and I'm streaming for Patreon supporters, Metal Wolf Chaos.
Hell yeah!
And if you'd like to select upcoming games,
is that the GameCube version?
I'm sorry,
or the GameStop version?
GameStop version. Yeah, I'm still waiting for the SRG to ship. But you can select upcoming games for me to Let's Play. I'm currently Let's Playing Folklore, which was selected for me. And finally, get involved in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord by... then consider stopping by my Patreon account.
It's
Seamless. Which can be found at patreon.com/Lotus Prince. Like it never happened. Ace, first try every time.
That was so good.
That was so good.
And you can find my YouTube channel, it's Fakafon. You can find me on Twitter at Lou Fakafon. That's Loup Fakafon because, French is stupid. You can find my webcomic. It's at kadrula.com. And also my Patreon is also Kadrula. I do a lot of drawings. People recommend stuff to draw, and it doesn't even have to be directly related to the webcomic. I'll draw it.
He has some really great gifts.
He's got quality art, man.
Definitely check them out. And check out his gender swap of his titular character, too.
Oh, yeah, it's coming. It's coming. You'll see them in the comic.
It's great. It's great. Well, that is the show for this week. Thanks, guys, and please do support both of our co-hosts here in their endeavors with their Patreon. They worked very, very hard. Lotus works almost every night, and I know Lou does too as well. Especially with the drawing. I know it takes time, especially for inspiration too. So please support them in their endeavors. Please give them a little bit of extra money to help create new content, because they put all their heart into it. So we will catch everybody for another episode of Reactive next week. See you then.
Until next time,
Goodbye,
everyone.
everybody.